Loading. Oh yeah. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Biddle-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Biddle-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Biddle-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Biddle-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. We're loading, we're gonna be a loading, we're loading, 'cause we're loading. Oh, we're loading because we're loading. I forgot to turn the sound off over on the other computer. It's one of those times that I forget to turn off the sound, and someone's gonna message me, and it's gonna be loud, and the show's gonna freak out. Oh, yeah. Internet. I don't think anybody knew that we were live. It says 0 watching, but you know me. I like talking to myself. It's all good, and it's all gravy. How's everybody doing today? It's super hot, so if you hear a little wind blowing past me, it's because I got the AC on. Let me know. Let me know if you can hear it. I don't know. I noticed when I checked the audio, it didn't sound like I could hear it, but now I kind of can hear it blowing past my ears. So it makes me mildly concerned. But either way, good to be here today, and good to see everybody on a lovely, super lovely Friday. There's been so much early chat, I can't tell who was first to the chat today. Who was first to the chat? I know it wasn't Frank. Maybe it was AJ's Aquariums. Maybe it was Wet Sleeves. Maybe it was Charlie. Maybe it was Candy Overhauls. Maybe it was Big Andy. Big Andy, 1987. Good luck on the show. Sending love from the UK. Oh, well, thanks, Big Andy. We hardly need luck around here. This show is so analog that, we don't really need luck. It's just like chopping lumber, you know what I mean? We just got to show up and do it. And then, it goes. Hopefully somebody posts in the chat who was first, and then we'll know about it. Steve Horton's here. What's up, my man? Alyssa Bentley showing up in the chat. That's awesome. I see Bentley Pascal. Speaking of Bentley Pascal, if you didn't see the tour of his fish room, go check that out after the show. I don't have a link to it because... well, I just don't have a link handy right now, I got Nick's Fish Room is here. I said hi to AJ, but let's say hi again. I see PM here. I see... who else do I see? John Gonzalez. What's up? I'm just going to make this noise with my mouth while I read. Oddball Aquatics, Mr. B's Fishing Things. What's up, man? Haven't seen you in a long time. Speaking of haven't seen in a long time, Bald and Dangerous hasn't been here. He's been out sick for a little while, so give him a shout and say hi. Tampa Tom is here. Boop, 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 boop. Scrolling. Oh, Daryl Dimer. I see a Daryl Dimer in the chat. Whoop. There's somebody. Noob Phobo. Pete Berlinski. Hey. Oh, I'm seeing some familiar faces in the chat. Going good. All right, I'm going to scroll all the way down here and catch back up to whoever's current. And then we'll say hi to Kevin Keener, Andre Asal, Mortal Slayer 82. I like that. Just stopping in for a like and a share. Have to run. Whoops, I'm bumping the camera. Sorry about that, guys. Ultimate Fish Keeping Show is here. Says, hi, Joel. How are you? Well, I'm good. I'm good. We got the beautiful hot weather going on here in the summertime, getting things done. It's going pretty well. Lord Stark is here. Danielle Edwards, what's up? Mary RNH2O, our resident nurse. In case you have any problems, ask Mary. She probably has the answer for you. Let's see. 54 Punchies here. 2 of the daughters are visiting from Portland, hanging out with 3 daughters right now. A quick like and a hello and an outro. Well, good to see you. Tony Franzen is here all the way from Sweden. Loving that. Drew Driftwood. Any advice to a new creator for a low budget? Yeah, I can give you some advice for a new creator on a budget. And man, if you're a baller on a budget, Boy, howdy. Well, there's one thing you can do. Expand the budget. No, that's ridiculous. That's not good advice. My advice to you would be just to start making videos. So there's a lot of free software out there that you could use, like OBS. OBS is something that you could utilize. It's a free software. If I was to give someone advice on like cameras and stuff like that, you guys know that I use a lot of camera equipment on a regular basis, but if you're on a budget, get your cell phone out. Use your cell phone. And then the other thing I would highly recommend... Oh, come on now. I had one sitting right here. Oh, here's the cable for one. Get yourself a lavalier mic. Okay? So it's like if you watch the news or whatever and they have a little microphone clipped right here. So a lavalier mic just runs on just make sure you get the one that runs on the standard stereo input that's not like this. So this one has 4 sections of brass. You actually want the one with 3 sections of brass. They cost about $13. You can get them off of Amazon. Just get yourself a lavalier mic. Get your cell phone. Just mic yourself up and just go around and start working on your projects. That's my biggest recommendation. And my biggest recommendation to you would be, if you are somebody who's starting out, you want to do YouTube, this is something that you want to get into, my recommendation would be do it. Do it right now. The biggest problem that almost I see from every single person is that they more often than not tell me, oh yeah, I could do that. And I go, oh cool. So you got some projects coming out or something like that? And they go, no, I don't have any projects coming out. And you go, okay, so from that previous statement you just told me is that you could do that. You just aren't doing that, right? So that would typically be the biggest obstruction, right? Is that people just don't do it. So just go out there, start doing it. I would highly recommend you to go look at some of my initial fish video that I put up. It's the worst thing you've ever seen in your entire life. I've left those up on YouTube on purpose so that people can come here and go. They can go back and look 6, 7, I think 8 years ago or something like that. I'm not sure how long the timeline is, but I've been on the platform for 10 years. I think a bunch of earlier stuff was deleted a long time ago. There's no way I could, like, undelete it. But to basically give you an idea, you just start doing it. Just start doing it, and you'll get something out there, okay? Then the next thing that you do, you can make a little bit better. The next thing you can do, you can make a little bit better. And just keep going that way. The audio is going to be the biggest thing that you can do for your production. If you can increase your audio, that is, and like I said, that's only going to cost $11.99 to like $13.99. So a little lavalier mark will go a million miles for somebody who's starting out. You can plug that right into your cell phone, record with it, make a video of something that you're doing. You know, you don't have to go totally crazy. You're basically just get going on it. That's going to be the biggest thing. That's the biggest obstruction that will be in the way. And if you have decent audio and you're explaining some of the stuff that you're doing, oftentimes that's really engaging enough for most people to come in and go, oh, okay, let me check this out. Let me see what's going on. And more often than not, that will engage people to a point where you can kind of start thinking about, oh, what's my next video going to be? Start working on that and moving forward. So that stuff's all... That would be the biggest advice that I would give to anybody who's starting out. Get some good audio, which is very cheap. It's very affordable. And then get going from there. And then just start hitting that upload button, which means get it edited, get it rendered, put it up on YouTube, and get it done. You can even do it directly from your phone. One of the big-time downsides, though, is that... you're going to have to wait a really long time for the rendering from YouTube's end. Most people don't realize what the rendering process is like, so if you make a video, cut it up, you put in some audio, you put some sound, you do all that kind of stuff. if you upload that just as a raw just as a raw deal like that, none of the edits will be there, none of the stuff will work properly. And if you, so let's say you just shoot one 10-minute segment of you kind of like walking around, looking at stuff, talking about, pointing at things that you're working on, like, hey, I've got these shrimp I'm really excited about, like this one or something, right? It's something that you're doing. And then you go ahead to upload that to YouTube, it's going to be processing it for you, which means you're going to go all the way to the back of the list, all the way to the back of the line, and wait for their servers to do it for you. That's going to take an exceedingly long time. You're going to have to wait many hours in order for that to happen. So if there's if you have a cheap PC or something around, some kind of computer that you can get to that you could even just put it into OBS and render it down so it's ready for upload, that's something that you could definitely look into. You know, I don't really have the best advice on what computer to buy or anything like that, if you could, but I would definitely recommend something like, I'm not saying buy a Dell, right? I'm saying buy something similar to that, the computer that's already been pre-built ahead of time, a PC that's like $300-400. $300-400 is going to go a really long way. Steve Horton says, I haven't watched a lot of the old stuff, but Vicky really cleaned him up. Actually, Vicky is not responsible for me getting cleaned up. Me getting sober and going to meetings and being a part of actually Alcoholics Anonymous, if you've heard about it before. Actually going to meetings and therapy and, you know, doing my step work and stuff like that. That's a lot of what I have to thank for getting cleaned up. I've been sober for let's check in on the clock. Oh, whoops, clicked on the wrong tab. 1,522 days I have been clean and sober. So I would say that's the biggest stepping point. Vicky came into my life after I got sober, so I guess maybe that's a clue in. It's basically me getting sober. So I often talk about that kind of stuff. If anybody needs advice on anything like that, go ahead and shoot me an email, joel@darkstararts.com. It's definitely worth it. If you're thinking about it, go do it. Go do the work, get it going, and it's well worth it. It's a million miles worth it. I know we've lost another a friend of mine recently to I don't know what you want to call it. Is it addiction? Is it is it alcoholism? Is it depression or whatever? Any of that kind of stuff. If you have any of that kind of stuff going on, I highly recommend go find a group. You know what I mean? If it's AA, if it's NA, if it's even if you're depressed, go find a group that you can talk at. There's all sorts of free groups and things that you can go and talk to and get a lot of that stuff sorted out. Because I've mentioned this before in the past. If you're having those kind of crazy thoughts and stuff like that, don't worry about it. That's normal. Get out there and talk to somebody about it, and they can help you. They can definitely help you get some help. Get over a hurdle, get moving on to the next thing, and start to figure it out. And start to figure out just kind of what's going on, what you could do about it, how you could enact something to make some change that needs to happen, and you're really going to start taking, to go about like what about Bob, but like doing the baby steps. Everything in life is just those little baby steps. Realistically, it's just these little incremental improvements that take years and years and years to happen, but before you know it, you're just living a good life and doing the best that you can, and that's pretty much how at this point in time in my life, that's pretty much how I live all my days, is just like, what's the best thing I can do today? What's the best indicated step that I could take to get through my day? I'm trying to be just the best version of myself and not try to be the best version of somebody else or any of that kind of stuff. As Nick's Fish Room says, went to counseling weekly when I was going through hard times. No shame in reaching out. There's no shame in reaching out. You got to do it. You got to do it. And to everybody else out there that's feeling wildly healthy at the time, this is something that I try to point out to people that are feeling super healthy and feeling super great. Take 10 minutes and just count through some people in your head, right? And try to think of somebody you haven't talked to in a long time. Something I found that is really useful for that is like Facebook friends. If you actually go scroll down the list of friends on like Facebook, you'd be like, why haven't I talked to this person in a really long time? Like, you'll encounter some names in there, and do some reach out to some people that you haven't talked to in a long time. So hopefully that helps somebody out there. Hopefully that helps a new creator see what we can get coming along, and see what happens, because it's always just good stuff. I know a while ago a friend of mine had talked to me. She wanted to kill herself for whatever reason. I can't really say the reason, because I don't know. It's always just something that may or may not be expressed or whatever. And we talked for a long time. And the one thing that she told me later on, kind of publicly, was, if you were going to do something like that, this is what I was telling her, is that I was like, if you're going to do something like that, why don't you go do something crazy first, right? Like, why don't you just spend all your money on a plane ticket to Europe and then go figure it out, right? And it's like, well, I don't want to do that. Okay, well then maybe you don't really want to kill yourself. Maybe you're just upset about stuff that's going on right now. Because the way I see it, I would bankrupt everything before I ever went that direction. You know what I mean? It's something that's hung in my head. It's like, why don't you just make a dramatic change? Why don't you just go live in a van down by the river and be weird? Instead of going with, the permanent solution for temporary temporary problems. There's no coming back from it. So I don't know how I got onto that, but that's the deal. Gene Tesk giving a shout out, said, don't get turned off by AA. To AA by the religious stuff. I'm a total atheist and got sober with AA, 15 years clean now. I think what a lot of people are misconstrue about AA is that it's a religious group. It's not. They just meet in the basement of like churches a lot. Yes, there is a lot of talk about God and this and that in it, but that is normally even within the big book, they talk about, hey, we will utilize the word God, right? Because that's the easiest way to give the representation of the highest power while talking in conversation. For me, like I wouldn't say that I'm an atheist. Like, I believe in something. I'm not sure what it is. For me, I feel like this sounds like hokey and weird or whatever, but I just believe in the sun god, basically. The sun makes no sense to me. The fact that it's going to be around for billions and billions of years, I think that we still don't really understand or interpret what it is for something that massive to have going on. We just assume it doesn't have consciousness because we can't hear its sentences, but maybe its sentences are 100,000 years long. Like, maybe it's been saying hello for 80,000 years, and we're like, whatever, son, right? So that's kind of the way I look at it, that there's a ton of stuff I don't understand. There's a ton of stuff I don't have any comprehension for, and I can just leave it at that. But a lot of people get turned off because they think AA is a religious group, even though it's not. It just typically meets in church basements because it's free or at very, very little rent. And they are doing definitely good work there. So, maybe AA doesn't work for you. Maybe you want to go to Smart Recovery. Maybe you want to go to a different recovery system. You can go to that. It's all good. They don't, as Keira Witt says, the Serenity Prayer, I'm not religious by any means, but it resonates. That's right. It's one of those things, like, I don't necessarily pray, but I do meditate. And I do work on, essentially repeating the you know, the Serenity Prayer and stuff like that, that does remind me that there's a bunch of stuff out of my control. There's a bunch of things that I don't have anything to do with that are happening on a regular basis, and I just need to make sure that I'm taking care of the things that I can do, right? That's how I go about my fish room. That's how I go about my art. That's how I go about making YouTube videos, all that kind of stuff. There's a bunch of stuff that's out of my control, and I can't get hung up about it or get upset about it. What's his name? Peter McKinnon uploaded a video today of him working with a really small creator, and he was actually talking about a lot of that, where people like think that he's not going to work with small creators or anybody like that because he's super successful right now. But he actually, went and made a video with a small creator and was working with the guy and stuff like that. It's just a reminder that we're all people. We all have a lot of value and stuff like that. And so I've just been kind of thinking about that a little bit today. So I guess maybe that resonates with, I guess, just some of the stuff that's going on, I guess. But as Nick says, the hobby helps immensely. My job is fraught with uncertainty and people being not all that nice. And that is right. Constantly and consistently run into people that are just not that nice. They're not that happy. They don't have like a happy existence or what they're trying to do. And that kind of stuff really has a tendency to weigh on me, get me down, make me feel bad. But I do have to remember that none of that stuff's in my control. The best thing I can do is just be the best version of me, and hopefully that'll improve somebody's day, and I think a while ago somebody was I forget, somebody sent me an email, and maybe I forget because I don't want to say who it is, but somebody sent me an email that doing the show helped them immensely, and talking about my sobriety and being open about the things that go on with me and stuff like that really helped them out a lot. And that's just the way that I feel about it. That's why I'm super motivated. Is that I'm like, dude, if me making this show and stuff, making YouTube videos and stuff like that, is helping somebody out, just one other person, I feel like I'm being successful. I feel like I'm being successful if I'm helping one other person, right? Because I'm one person. If I'm helping one other person, that's at least doubled the amount of... That's doubled the potential of helping people, right? So I feel pretty good about it, and that's all I really need to just keep going, personally. Now, I'm not the kind of person that's so vain to admit, or to not admit, like, if it was 100,000 people, I would probably be busting with, like, I don't know, pride, or just like, wow, like, the more it gets out to people, yes, I do feel better about it. But the baseline is I'm helping one person, I feel good. You know what I mean? I feel good about it. So I wouldn't sit here and blow smoke up a tailpipe, you know what I mean, and be like, oh, well, if it was going out to 1 million people, I'd just be exactly the same, like, that's just honest. Hopefully you guys understand that it's just honest, that, like, when you are talking to a bigger crowd, you just feel like you're doing better, I guess. I mean, that's just part of being human, you know what I mean? So, Brandon Skelly says, hello, hey. Good advice, to each their own. Yes, to each their own is always good advice. Glenn from Canada says, I like the Mayans approach. Yeah, let's see, the Mayans used to drill into their heads to release the demons. So maybe they should have just stopped chewing on the cocaine, because that's what was giving them those wild migraines. But it turns out actually cutting into your skull like that would heal the crazy headaches they had. There was an easier way, though. Charles W. has been sober for 2 years, 3 months, and I'm grateful to have found your show and channel. In its own way, it helps immensely. Thank you for that. That is awesome. I mean, I know that the main focus of what we do here is you know, inverts and plants and aquariums and fish and ecosystems and all that stuff that really gets us jazzed. But I always try to not forget about the humanitarian side of it. That you know, if somebody's bacopa is not growing very well, that's okay. We'll get to it. But you know, if somebody feels like they're going to go jump off a bridge, sometimes that needs to be addressed first. You know what I mean? And you know, I just, you know, I think it's one of the sad things about, you know, the internet now is that I do get reports back from people that, like, certain people are no longer around, you know. And to be brutally honest with you, like, I don't, like, go to their services and stuff like that because I just can't. I just can't do it. I'm not. It's not going to be a good scene for me. It's not going to make anybody feel better, and it's certainly not going to. It would essentially just leave an opening for other people to try and feel, I guess, like they want to be involved with my life or something, and they don't really. I don't need them around. It's an unfortunate, sad thing that, like, you know, sometimes there are just people that are just not good. They're not a good fit, right? And, you know, you just can't be around them. You know, you can't really be friends with them. You can still be friendly with them. Like, that's okay. But that's why I don't go to those services and stuff. I don't know why I talked about that, but it just popped into my head. Anyhow, let's get to... Oh, we have a super chat, you guys. We have a super chat we need to address from Ryan Avery. Starting my first reef in a 40-gallon breeder after many high-tech planted tanks. Any tips or suggestions? Thanks, man. You are the dude. Well, I'm the dude that's playing the dude that's being another dude while I'm being a dude. No, I'm sorry. I watched Tropic Thunder a while ago, and it's still funny. It's still funny. Yes, as Candy mentioned today, Friday is the Patreon question day, which we will be answering some of that. We also have some video, which, man, I was trying to render another video. As you guys know, Wednesday's show was a disaster with the rendering. It just... The stupid thing just would not render, and it's having an issue right now again, and it wasn't going to render in time. So we have, I don't know, like an 8-minute clip that's sort of unedited, so we'll see how good it is, but we'll talk about a plant that I'm almost always super excited for. If you guys are excited for it, I hope you are. I love the plant that we're going to be planting today. Screw it. Let's go to the video. I'm going to let you guys watch the video while I answer Ryan's super chat question here. All right, so my advice, first and foremost, if you have done planted tanks, you're almost... if you have done high-tech planted tanks, you are pretty much 90% of the way to being able to handle the reef stuff. Reef stuff is just a little bit different. The filtration is going to be a skimmer, but that should be fairly easy to comprehend if you've been doing planted tanks for a long time. Skimmer operates through water tension, all those bubbles and everything going in there. Because there's so much salt in the water, proteins will float in the water, aka fish poop, extra food, that kind of stuff will float around in the water because there's so much salt in there. It's buoyant, just like when you, me, anybody jump into the salty ocean water. You notice that you float a lot more than you do in fresh water. You're more buoyant because of that salt. That's the same thing for the proteins that are floating around in there, whether it be, as I mentioned, fish waste or any of that kind of stuff, and that's going to be slowly carried up by all that agitation from those bubbles and carried up to the top and float over into the collection cup. So you're going to have to figure out how to get your skimmer to work properly. You do also want to make sure that you're pre-filtering your water before you're mixing it with salt and putting it in your tank. You're also going to need to get a saltwater test kit, and a few chemicals that you're going to need is like magnesium, calcium, strontium, a couple other things. But the basis of what you want to do is figure out which reef you want to do. If you're interested in doing LPS versus SPS, which would be soft corals versus hard corals. Okay, now hard corals happens to coincide with the difficulty of them. All right, they happen to be hard because they're a stony coral. They're a stony base. They're grown on calcium deposit rich stone is how they grow, right? And they are just more difficult to do than most of the flowing corals that you see, like flopping around and waving around and doing all that kind of stuff. Now, you want to look up which dosing kit you're interested in based on which corals you want to do. Then you want to figure out which fish you want to get. So you want to make sure that the corals and the fish are going to match. You want to make sure that they're going to be able to live together, okay? And then moving forward, with your fancy test kit, you're going to be doing the testing and seeing what's going on, making sure that you don't have ammonia, making sure that you don't have overly high nitrates, nitrites, all that same kind of stuff. But the learning curve is so much smaller if you've been doing high-tech planted tanks. It's really not that big of a jump. It's just not crazy. It's just sort of like, oh, yeah, I remember this. Now I just do this instead, right? And you're like, oh, okay, so I would just bear that in mind, that you already have a lot of the tools in your box and getting ready to go. So Glenn from Canada says, and don't use live rock, too many hitchhikers to mess up your reef. That's a good point. You can do man, the live rock versus no live rock debate. I don't know. I feel like that's a really deep debate that I would end up sitting here having by myself. But you could seed your live rock, but you're only going with a 40 gallons, so it's not like you have a gigantic aquarium to work on. But I would get something that you could seed the bacteria and stuff and get your cycle done much quicker than just a dry start. Coming from a dry start in a reef doesn't make much sense in comparison to what a dry start is in a planted aquarium, aquascaping, like a planted aquascape, right? Planted aquascape with a dry start, you have no water in there, whereas with a reef, you're going to have all dry rock, add that in, fill it up, let it cycle for a really long time. But Daddy Tanky says I go dry rock. Yeah, I have a bunch of seeded rock with no pests and stuff like that already, so that's the route I would go. Oh, Biddy Brown, what are you doing? Biddy Brown? Hey, who are you barking at? I bet you the UPS guy's out here. Oh my God, you guys. 'Twas the mailman. I was off. It was USPS. Hey, Biddy, quit freaking out. Anyhow, either way, I think you'll be pretty good if you've done a high-tech planted tank. You're gonna be right in there. It's not gonna be a big deal. You're gonna transition quite easily. You probably already know a lot about lights and LEDs versus T5s and all that kind of stuff, so I think you're going to be pretty good. Yeah, okay. Well, let me bust over here. Let's go to the video first, and then we'll be getting to the Patreon questions. Mainly because this is a plant that I want to talk about. Where did my notes go? I had notes here. Oh man. Hold on, I got to open the notepad here. All right, Ludwigia senegalensis. Senegalensis, Ludwigia, Ludwigiae. The Senegalensis is basically one of my... This is one of my favorite plants, but it's essentially... Where I live, it's basically impossible to find. Like, no store carries it. Aquarium Co-op doesn't carry it. This plant ships like... This plant ships like if you took a peeled banana and stuck it in a box and shipped it to your friend across the country. That's kind of how it would ship. You end up with just a pile of mush, right? In a box. That's pretty much how this plant ships. So it's pretty chaotic to try and get this plant all the way from Africa. It's a beautiful Ludwigia. It just has all these crazy little red veins on it and stuff. So the leaf coloration, the base of it's green, the stalk of it's kind of got this reddish hue to it, but the base of the leaf is green, and then it has these tendrils of bright red that grow on the leaves. Now, these pieces I have been basically babying and nursing along here for the past probably week and a half or something like that. It has been even in just a week and a half that I've had it, ups and downs so far. So far, we're back on track. We're doing fine. I'm pretty confident right now it's going to do well. The leaves are quite tiny still. They will grow larger in my aquarium. But I do have one concern right now that I may or may not have to tweak the lighting a little bit. I may have to make some changes with the lights, but as I said, it has been a really long time. The last time I got this plant was probably 8 years ago or something like that, and I didn't know what I had at the time in regards to its rarity. I was around a lot of people that had constantly passing around super rare plants all the time, and I just thought, whatever, no worries, I'll get it again. And yeah, like I said, 8 years later, here I am. Finally somebody was selling some trimming, and I bought 40 other trims, 40 other stems of stuff so that I could get this plant. I saw this plant on the list of somebody that was selling some stuff, and I just said, I'm buying that right now. Is that weird? I don't know, but it basically was one of those things that, like, I have not seen it up for sale. I've not seen it in a store. I haven't seen it anywhere else. I just said, screw it. I don't care what this guy's asking. He probably could have asked a lot more. I basically, it was only $40. So if anybody out there thinks I'm, like, balling hard with, like, $500 plants or something here, I'm not. If you want that guy, call Tom Barr. He's got that stuff for you if you need it. I was there in person with him, and I didn't even get anything from him. Which, come to think of it, what was I doing? I should have gotten something from Tom Barr. Oh, that's right. I got some of his wood. So I didn't steal it. He said I could have it. Unless the police show up. Then I'll run away. But I'm very excited to get this plant in. I got ants in my pants. I almost planted it too quickly because I wanted to get it in the dirt. I want to get it in there. I want to get it into the substrate. And I almost broke my own silly rules. So I did put a weight on it, as you guys saw. I put a weight on it, and I let it sit in the tank and acclimate, throw down some roots, do its thing, get ready for it to be planted. I haven't trimmed this or anything like that. I've got it to throw roots. Now I'm going to let it root. Obviously, it does not look good right now. Some of the pieces are long, some of the pieces are short, whatever. Like, this is not Aquascape. This is, I've got to get these in there. I've got to get them in just the right spot to make sure that they will basically root down, start to grow, and start to propagate. Then I'm not going to be super concerned as much And more more than likely, I'm going to be taking these trimmings and moving them to another tank, right? So that I can propagate in more than one tank. So that in case something crazy happens, at the very least, I'll have this and something else. Now, the alternate there, Renekii, that's there. As much as I love this plant right here, I can get that. I can get my hands on that one. This Sterigine repens that's right here. I love that plant too. I can get that one if I need it. Now, this rose sword that's right here, we'll be talking about that next year. Or, not next year. Or, sorry, this Aflame sword that's right here in the forefront right here. Don't worry about that right now because we're going to talk about that next week. It's finally ready to be planted, and I'll have a video segment for you guys next week. We'll be talking about this Aflame that's right here. But this Senegalensis Ludwigia came all the way from Africa and is finally back in one of my tanks, and I'm very excited for it. Now, the other part of the video here, I'm actually showing you guys I need to trim and cut away some of the, if you want to call it styrogine, styrogine, I don't know. However people want to pronounce it, repens, the styrogine repens. Oh, Bentley corrected me. It's a purple night sword. Yeah, I keep thinking it's in a flame. Purple flame sword. Purple night sword. There we go. It's always the street names that start to screw me up. It's Echinodorus is what it is, but most people don't know what the hell I'm saying. But it's an Echinodorus aflame. Typically is what it's been marketed as for a long time. But purple night sword. There we go. All right. Bentley's going to get pissed and he's going to slap me next time he sees me. But this Styrogine repens just needs to be moved. As you can see, I'm starting to get some vertical shoots, which is this is what happens with this Styrogine repens. It starts to grow up and down instead of carpeting across like we want, right? We want it to carpet across. We want it to spread. We don't want it to grow tall. We want it to stay in the front. People commonly ask me, I don't understand how you do that. Well, here's a little video segment where I'm actually doing it. So anything that's growing up like this, that's growing vertically, right? And you can tell because the stuff that's growing laterally, like this piece right here, it's sending a root down every once in a while, and it's just kind of like, okay, I'm going to grow along this way, right? And the stuff that's growing vertically does this little cup thing where it's like kind of like making a tulip at the top, right? That's how you know these ones here are growing vertically instead of laterally. Whereas the ones that are growing laterally like this, they grow this kind of V shape at the top instead of this kind of cupped up tulip thing. I don't know what's going on here. What am I doing with the whiteboard? All right. But they'll grow flatter like this right here if they're growing laterally versus this tulip shape that's like right here, okay? Does that make sense? I don't know. Probably not. But the easy way to deal with this is to trim the ones that are growing vertically, replant those chunks that you cut off, or compost them. Don't ever throw them down. Don't ever throw them down your toilet. People have been throwing stuff... people have been throwing stuff down their toilet and getting rid of it. And that is not a good idea. Always put it into your compost, something that's going to let it dry out and get rid of. Dave B is asking, is that Cryptocrine beckettii on the right? No, that's actually Wendettii. The beckettii that I have, there's some back here which you can't see, and then I have some in the sump of the 240, which I'll probably be breaking out in a couple of weeks when I start redoing some tanks. Which, if you guys aren't excited for me to redo some tanks, you're probably dead inside. Maybe your heart is black as coal and is just dead inside, because I'm excited for it. If you're not excited for me to start doing some new tanks, I don't know what I can do for you. I'm like just the hype man here, being like, I hope you're excited for aquascaping, because I am, right? But I'm excited for that stuff, so maybe I'll bust out some of that coming up. The in the States, the Lutea. The Cryptocran lutea is much easier to get your hands on than the Becketii. So basically the same kind of look out of those two plants, only slightly different variations realistically. But if you're looking for something that's more readily available, I would look for the lutea. Kind of grows a lot alike and very similar if you can't find the Becketii. Let's see. In the moderate climate in my province, we need to be vigilant. All right. What about dead fish? Should a dead fish go down the loo? I would not put a dead fish down the toilet, Mr. Gillett. Joel Gillett is asking, should I put a dead fish down the toilet? No. I would actually also put any kind of dead fish down your into your compost. Basically anything that's dead out of your tanks, whether it be plants or any of that kind of stuff, definitely put it into your compost, let it break down, and dispose of it that way. That's going to be a much better way for the environment. Oftentimes we're throwing either, it could be a bacteria, it could be a parasite, could be an invasive species plant or something like that, throwing it down the sewer, and there's just so many opportunities for there to be some issue down the line that could crop up from something that you threw down the toilet. Just to assume that every sewer is perfectly intact is just a bad assumption to make. You know what I mean? Dave B saying his Becketii is growing so slowly. That definitely is a thing to... if you're looking for something that grows a little bit faster, I would look for some lutea, and maybe that will satiate your quickly growing that you're looking for, which I have to admit, oftentimes I find myself in that camp of going like, dude, why is this stuff growing so slowly? That does bother me also. I am not immune to that, and I've definitely been there before. If you are in the States and you're looking for some of that stuff, I would recommend rolling over to check out my boys, yo boys, all the boys over at the Aquarium Co-op. There's a link right there. That link actually will take you to the hat. I'm telling you guys, you got to get one of these hats before they're gone. I reserved mine, but that's because I can do that in person. And I was like, yeah, hey man, you better reserve me a hat. And then we did some Muay Thai stick fighting in the street, and eventually I got a hat reserved. I'm lucky that way. I'm lucky that way that we could stick fight with shovels, right? But either way, I got my hat reserved. If you guys don't have a hat, you should go get an Aquarium Co-op hat, because when they get sold out, they're like gone for a grip and you can't get them. And I know that a lot of people are going to want to be at the aquatic experience with their like Aquarium Co-op hat, balling out of control, coming up in whenever that is. October? September? I'm so confused. I was looking at my travel schedule, and I have no idea what to tell you guys right now, but it is filling up, and I don't know what I'm going to do if we're not going to be able to do much of the live streams, because somehow I'm going to have to get a million miles ahead on editing, or you guys are going to be super pissed at me, which I don't want. You know, I don't want that. I don't want you guys to be super pissed. We got a whole bunch of new patronizers today, speaking of people that aren't pissed, people that are the opposite of pissed. Right? As we mentioned in the last show, Elias Garcia Vargas jumped up from $1 to $5. Seth Farnham is brand new. Steve Horton upped the ante from $1 to $2. That's like, Is that 50% or 100% increase? I think that's 100% increase. We got Clint Rowan, Sandy Doty, and Philip M. Brand new today. Something happened today. I don't know. Somehow, I think somebody must have shared out something, or I can't imagine that, like, suddenly I became so popular to get, like, 5 new patronizers in one day. Although, it's awesome. I'm very much appreciate it. It's super cool. I have my doubts that I'm that popular. Right? I don't know. I would never know. Let's see if we got any questions here that need some addressing real quick. Red Chameleon's asking, what can I do to quit the brown algae diatoms from my aquarium? Hi from Spain. Red Chameleons, okay, so diatoms, my guess would be that your aquarium's probably about 3 weeks old, would be my guess. If you have a diatom algae, that is you have a high rate of silicates, and you're going through the process of a newly set up tank. And just keep maintaining the tank, do your typical water changes and the typical maintenance that you would normally do, and everything would be fine. Blitzkrieg 2002 says, what's your preferred way to clean new plants before adding them to your tank? I use a Melifix dip, which Melifix is mostly whatever. It just kind of will knock out bacteria. I do it like super concentrated, though. Just dunk them in there for 3 to 4 minutes. Any longer than that, and it will kind of mess them up, but that will normally knock off anything that's on there, and then just give them a good rinse in some clean water. Not that big of a deal. I know there are a lot of people out there that are hyper paranoid about adding things to their tank. Matter of fact, I saw like a huge YouTuber the other day was talking about like moving net. Like somebody like they'd used a net in one tank, and then they used it in another tank, and then everything got sick in the other tank that they used it in. I don't know, which, yeah, let your nets dry out and stuff like that. But if you're being super paranoid, I don't know. I've never found a reason to be that paranoid over it. And I was kind of confirmed by that when I was out in Germany, because like all the market for medications in Germany is like zero. Like there's no medications. Like you go to the stores and stuff like that, there isn't really medications to buy, because they're like, we want you to, the culture there is a lot different. If you maintain a healthy aquarium, you're not throwing chemicals in there really ever. Because if you're feeding well, you're maintaining a really healthy environment, most things will be healthy. And, I do subscribe to that a lot. I will use some treatments sometimes. I will do some treatments sometimes, but it's pretty rare that I do. Like, I'll treat for ick if I happen to get ick at some point in time. If I find a parasite, I'll treat for it. Like, in this shrimp tank right now, I do have some planaria, and I'll show you guys how I trap those out. I don't use the dog dewormer. I don't add any chemicals to the tank. Typically, if you get planaria, they're everywhere. Planaria just sort of exist, and it's normally the extra accumulation of food. So I'll show you guys how I trap those, and I'll be making a little detailed video on that. I have to get the rest of the shots where I actually trap them and get them out. But planaria is a perfect example of something to not flush down the toilet too. Once you capture them, send them on into the compost and let them dry out. This time of year, that is not an issue because it's 90-some degrees out. Pretty easy. Ed's Fish says it's pretty telling. The Germans don't seem to like slackers. That is very true. It was pretty fun spending a lot of time with them, because it was kind of like, they're like, why are you guys using chemicals for everything? and pretty odd. But as you guys know, I do quarantine my fish before I bring them in and add them to a tank. You know, the plants that I dip is, like I said, it's pretty minimal. You know, it's like Melifix is basically, now I know a bunch of people are going to argue with me on this, but it's basically tea tree oil. It's like expensive watered down tea tree oil. I just buy it that way because it's yes, it's more expensive. It's not a DIY thing, but it is much readily available and easier for me to use, just to give them a quick dip so I'm not adding any kind of weird bacterias from somebody else's system or something like that. But I do quarantine my fish. Oftentimes where I get my fish from, I'll normally have them quarantine, because I'm kind of a jerk like that. I'm like, look, I'll pay you extra $3 or $4, quarantine my fish for me, you know, or whatever. I normally kind of work out deals like that if I can. Why? I don't know. I've just been around a long time, and places will do that. Some won't, but places will. Maxwell Sonneman says, I have planaria in a couple of tanks. Yum for the fish. That's right. Oftentimes there are a lot of fish that will eat planaria and stuff like that. People get pretty paranoid about the shrimp that get eaten by planaria, which personally I have seen it happen. It's so rare, though. It's rare that they even get an opportunity to really actually eat a shrimp. But it is super rare. It's super rare, and I'm never really all that paranoid about it, because you do have to remember that in the wild, the shrimp are going to be eaten, like en masse, right? Which means a lot of the shrimp are going to get eaten. So a colony will maintain with some of the shrimp being eaten. Don't worry about it too much. I just kind of look at it like, if you're stupid enough to be eaten by a planaria, maybe I don't want you in the gene pool, Mr. Shrimpy. And hey, that planaria gets to eat. That's just part of nature. That's just life. You know what I mean? Like, it just really is life. Hydras are a little bit of a pain, but hydras are pretty easily dealt with in my world. Add a couple guppies in there, and they'll get hammered. You know. Alyssa Bentley says, I also saw the second one, which should have been called Pet Cemetery. Surely it won't happen again. Don't call me Shirley. Let's see. Dave B says, I forgot to turn on my filtration when I left for 36 hours. Terrible water quality when I came back. An early sign of dropsy. Did a water change, and everybody was all right. Yeah, it's also one of those things that you'll notice that oftentimes if you're doing water changes, you're maintaining the system, things are being fed properly and at the right amount. You know, you have light timers on your stuff. All the things are kind of just, you have a balanced system and it's working pretty well. Sometimes fish get sick. That does happen every once in a while, but more often than not, if something bad was happening or whatever, work on the system, keep the system healthy, and more often than not, they'll rebound and it'll be okay. Okay, well, it seems like nobody's really asking any questions about this plant, so let's go to the Patreon questions. Patreon questions. If you don't know, on Friday we answer questions from the Patreon. I haven't written a song for this. I should write a song for the Patreon questions. Patreon. Oh my God, it's a Patreon. Oh, there we go. I thought I had this queued up, but sorry guys, I had to do a bunch of quick scrolling there. Hopefully nobody has an allergic reaction to my quick rolling. But I had to scroll down so we're on the right one. Hey, who doesn't know what the Patreon is? Raise all of your hands and fingers and toes up into the sky. Raise them up into the sky, you guys. Come on now. Come on now. Raise them up. Raise them up and raise them up. Raise them up. Raise them up. If you don't know what the Patreon is, this is where this show is crowdsourced from, you guys. This is how we crowdsource it. It would be crazy to think. It would be crazy to think that I could just fund everything, like, just directly out of pocket and be able to show up. You know, I think that's kind of the biggest thing. I'm trying to do it. I'm trying to push my schedule as hard as I can to try and fund a couple other projects that I'm really excited to try and get to you guys. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. I don't know if the schedule's going to work, but I really am figuring it out. And the reason I'm figuring it out is probably because of the Patreon, you guys. Like, I'm spellbound by the amount of support that I get from you guys. I'm starstruck. I'm beamed over the head with a stick. Like, that's how crazy I feel every time I look at the Patreon and just you guys generously supporting something that in my imagination is going to grow into hopefully just more and more and more cool projects and being able to go out there. You guys know I've been traveling around. I went to Germany to go talk to a ton of companies out there. We just got back from driving 3,300 miles to go run into some people, to get you guys some store tours, to get you guys some, and hopefully get some of these bigger projects that just never get filmed. You know, one of the things I'm really interested in that hopefully works out, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but spoiler alert, hopefully going to be going on a shrimp collecting trip at some point in time, which is very exciting. I don't think we would be at this point. I don't think we would be at this point that I'd be able to bring any of this stuff to you if it wasn't for the Patreon. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for the Patreon, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. I feel like an idiot, and I don't really know how to do a commercial or anything like that. So, yeah. Here's the questions from the Patreon. There's a community page there. It's a third-party site. It's monthly charge, $1. I don't know. I'm just going to go to the questions because I'm losing track. I don't even know what I'm saying. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. But Eric posted his Snapchat page. If anyone wants to see random content, LOL, which is right? Woo. Yes, so this people have asked me, like, hey man, how can I get the easy promotion of like my YouTube channel or anything like that? I don't know, Patreon might be the way to go. Or invite me over to your house. I'll come do a fish room tour like I did at Bentley's. Right. You know, stuff like that. I love being able to bring that stuff to you guys. Oh man, this one's a super big picture from Atomics, who says, I got these crypts as little nothings from Petco, free in a bag. Really? Free in a bag? I don't imagine where you could get. Free shrimp in a bag, and it turns out it's Petco. All right, maybe I got to go to Petco every once in a while. I don't know. Maybe they're handing out free plants there, and I got to spin by. I don't know. Recently, they've gotten much bigger and much darker, and the leaves have begun to spiral. I've also been hitting the tank with 4 hours a day of Grow Spot light. 42-watt medium base LED spotlight, legit blue and red grow light. Do you think the spiraling is because they're healthy and getting lots of light, or because they have a deficiency? Alyssa Bentley right here is pretty much hitting the nail on the head. This is also one of the great things about the Patreon page. We have other patronizers hop on there, answer people's questions and stuff like that. We've started to get more and more of a little bit of a dialogue on there, which is mind-blowing to me. It's mind-blowing to me that people are like, oh, I got to swing by the Patreon and see what people posted up and check it out. Oh, and I've got something to say. Like Alyssa here, chiming in, helping out, being part of the community. It's amazing. So, her answer here, look up images of Cryptocrine wendetii brown, which is crazy because we were talking about that earlier. And she says, or potentially Becketii, but I don't think it's Becketii. I don't think Becketii would ever end up at Petco for any reason on accident. But this does look like Wendetii. And so, one of the things that you'll notice about Wendetii is that its little leaves, the stuff that starts out, does grow kind of a vibrant green color. As the leaves get bigger and bigger and bigger and longer, you'll notice that, like in the 150, they're these kind of brown with this deep green on them, and they've got all these kind of crinkly weirdness and very interesting stuff. Now, if you have really crummy light on your tank, they'll kind of stay this sort of opaque lighter green color and just kind of flat and just here's some leaves. Yeah, what up? I'm here living, right? If you have a good amount of intense light on them, they really start to get that dark, crazy character, and I'm pretty sure 100% I do have a fair bit of experience with these guys, and I would say that's because of the additional light, which is a good thing. The things that this plant is doing is good for this plant, so I would not stress out about it. I would give yourself a high five and keep working on what you're doing. So whatever you're doing, you've increased and made the environment better for this plant. It is doing well. This is a good deal. Oh, Dave B says they sell tissue culture at Petco of Becketii. I've seen it. Oh, okay. So maybe they do. Gosh, maybe they do have Becketii there. I don't know. This looks like Wendetii to me, but now I'm intrigued, Dave. Well, thanks, Dave. Now I got to go to Petco. Like it's a curse or something. Like I'll go up there. I'll go up there one of these days and I'll take a look, maybe see if they've got it. But I would be wildly surprised, unless it was a company like Tropica or something that was sending that out. Can't wait to go tour those guys' facility, you guys. I can't wait to do that. I hope I get to. Talked to the president of the company a while ago, and he was pretty excited about it. We'll just see if we can work it out or not. Haley from Oddball Aquatics. I like this. I like that there is we have some good comedy going on, because she says, "Do you feel watched, Joel?" Because that's me. That's me, Joel C. down there, right? Be careful. Little Puffle's ears is listening. Now just soak that in for a minute. I got a puffer fish watching me while there's a painted fish in the background, painted shrimps all over the floor. Man, my office is a mess. It's not really... Never mind, it's a mess. I'll just agree with you guys. It's not garbagey, but it is messy. Sorry. It's just kind of how I work. Let's see here. Alyssa Bentley, who's recently moved to a new place, and is setting up a bunch of new projects, is keeping us posted on the stuff that is going on. Says, everything is finally coming together. Should be able to put water in the bottom one today, as it has been 6 days since I siliconed the dividers in place, which is cool. So check this out. Has divided these... whatever size tanks these are. I think these are like 30-gallon or something like that. I forget exactly, but divided them into 3 tanks, right, to do some pretty cool projects. And she said, I'm heading up to get some substrate from the lady in my club. The middle tank, I wanted to wait a couple of days before I put water in. The top is fine. I think I'll just put plants in it for the moment. Maybe I'll get some Caridina shrimps down the road if the parameters are stable enough. So excited to be able to use this shelf finally. I know what that's like. I've had shelves and stuff like that I've just been waiting to get them set up. And then here we are. A couple days later, she has done the follow-up. Boom! Oh, and we got a reply down here. Yeah. Oh, digging it. She's got all shrimps in there, and all these dividers are in to keep them nicely divided, so you aren't mixing and matching colors and trying to do a Skittles tank and then ended up with brown shrimp after time. So that's awesome. So we even got, like, the beginning of the setup, and then, oh, yeah, here it is set up, which is dope. I think the top tank's still empty, but regardless, it looks cool. That is cool. Rarely am I jealous of people's setups, but I think I kind of like that one. Kind of jealous of that setup, but To each his own. Olympia Shrimps sending in just a jungle tank, that is for sure. With the Jungle Guppy Spec 5 gallon, the Spec V, the Spec Roman numeral V. And you got a green thumb? You got a green thumb a little bit? Is that what's happening here? You got a green thumb a little bit? You got this crazy jungle going on in this little tank? I really like it. I fear that it's going to get overgrown and start to choke itself out, though, pretty quickly. I think the sad trimming is probably going to happen pretty soon, so we don't end up with the the traffic jam of plants and stuff like that, and end up crashing the tank. I think that's what I would watch out for at this point. Uh-oh, Jeffro just showed up, just yelling. Jeffro's just in here, just yelling into the chat with his power beard and his power. Jeffrey. I always wondered, I think Jeff must place... Jeff, do you play first base in your softball league? He talks about his softball league a lot on his live stream, and I've always wondered, and I always forget to ask. So maybe he'll type it in. Maybe he'll take a second and type it into the chat. Let us know what position he plays. Because I know he's batting third or fourth. That's for sure. But what position? What is it? Alyssa Bentley again with some more of her new setup that's going on. And we got the shelf holding all the electrical stuff upward and safely not on top of the tanks anymore. That's a load off my mind. These wires are super ugly, though. I got to hang something black on the wall behind everything, maybe to reduce the appearance of these black cords. Maybe get some twist ties and bind the cords together in a bundle. Thoughts? And there are some good answers down below here. Johan saying using some cable trays. Chad Kratz is saying use some convoluted tubing. Yeah, I would use... There are lots and lots of cable management stuff. Lots and lots of cable management stuff that you could find at the hardware store out there. My favorite thing is to actually use electrical cable clips to wire everything exactly where I want to go. But that's a lot of hammering and all that kind of stuff that most people don't like to do. So maybe look for something more modular. I think it really just comes down to like however you feel comfortably in your comfort zone, right? And just go with that. Maybe you're into hold on, what do we got here? Here we go. Oh yeah. So what I've noticed, there's this new type of Velcro now that I don't know that it's like new or whatever, but I've been noticing it showing up on electronics that this side is the hook side, right? But it's actually way smoother than before, and it's all plastic. And then this side is the furry side, right? And so this little doodad like goes right in there, or maybe it goes around. Yeah, no, it goes in there. But either way, like, so this thing Velcros to itself, basically, right? See that? So cables like this deal, and I saw like, I don't know, a 20-pack of these or something like that was like $4 or something like that on Amazon. But it like, so that's like a way that you could like do some cable management. That's, you don't really have to do anything. You just put it on there and wrap it around and you're good to go, and you could reuse it later for whatever you wanted to use later. So maybe that's interesting. Maybe it's not. Personally, I would just go with cable clips, get everything nailed it into the wall, or if I had to, or whatever. Because I'm a maniac. But we own this house, so we get to do what we want and whatnot. And Johan, excuse me, Johan. I'm not saying you can't do this, but he's posting a fish of the week, the Apistogramma macmasteris, and the macmasteris, like, I love them. I don't have any. and then I always get sad. So I have to tell you guys, like, Johan has some of the most interesting fish. Consistently. Just consistently. I love that beauty. And mad props. Thanks for posting it up. Even though it does make me want to go drive over and find some for sale right now. Jared RB throwing it in. Throwing down with the fact I just got this 18 to 20 gallon hexagon tank, thinking of doing an island style aquascape in it and keeping dwarf puffers. The scape will have some combination of manzanita, lava rock, sand, fluorite, val, jungle val, umbrella hairgrass, narrow leaf anacaris, dwarf sagittaria, dwarf chainsword, and crypt lutea. Whew, that's a lot for an 18 to 20 gallon. I have an Aquacare 50 on it and was thinking of also picking up one of those lava rock airstones from the coop. How many dwarf puffers could I keep in there? Thinking of 5 would be a nice number. Also, how do you move puffers to a new tank? I would normally, after temperature acclimation, pour the bag into a net and move the fish into the new tank with none of the water. Don't want puffers to puff up in the air. Yes. If you're moving, yeah, I mean, the pea puffers are pretty easy to move. I wouldn't be that stressed out with them. And yes, 4 to 6, maybe 4, maybe 6 in this tank is, you're going to start to run out of territory with the pea puffers if you have too many in there. You're going to start to run out of space. They're going to kind of battle with each other. If they don't have anywhere to kind of chill out, you're going to have an issue. But as far as like moving them to the tank, I would just go with the standard procedure of, dumping the water out into the, utilizing a net and then just add them in. I'm not a huge fan of temperature acclimation unless the temperature is like way off. Like if somehow the bag has gotten down to 50 degrees and the tank is 86 degrees or something like that. I typically don't do temperature acclimation because, over the years, it's like, if I get some fish from somewhere, I bring it home, the bag might be 75 degrees or something, and I'm putting them into a 84 degree tank. That's not that big of a deal for fish. That happens in the wild all the time, and that's not a huge ordeal for them. It's just the concern I have is when you go from really cold, like when I've got them in shipping. Sometimes I've gotten fish in from shipping and it was like the bag was 52 degrees. I'm like, okay, I got to warm them up slowly. But if you're kind of just moving fish across town or not that far away or something like that, I wouldn't be too worried about the temperature acclimation. Basically just get them moved as quickly as you can and just to stress them out as least as possible. So maybe you have them in a holding tank in your quarantine tank at your place, net them out, shake them off a little bit and throw them in the new tank. Just get them over there quick, because it's, every second that you're like kind of waving them around in the net or them being in a weird bag, like I'm a firm believer that that's stressing them out, and that's just not what you want to do with them. So I would just move about it quickly, get your work done quick, and get it done. But yes, like in that size of a tank, I would say 5 for sure. 5, 6, maybe 7 if you're feeling crazy, but not too many in there. They need a couple of gallons of space to just go chill out. David Ben Avraham is asking, highlight. Hi everyone, I have a 125 gallon high tech, been running for about 2 months. I have 2 Fluval 2.0 48-inch running at full brightness. Would this be considered highlighting? How do you define highlighting? Now, James Leiser posted some great links here. I can't click on them because I don't own any of the rights to them, even though one of them is Fluval's tripping. Where is Fluval? What are they doing? I saw them commenting on a bunch of my videos the other day. The old Fluval account was trolling me in a nice way. But, personally, I would say, yes, you're in the highlight situation, David. I would certainly not add more I wouldn't add more lights. Really no reason to do it. I've got the 1.2.0 over the 150, and I'm growing bright red plants, styrogene, all that stuff. Not having a problem with any kind of light deficiency or anything like that. So I would certainly, just consider that you're doing fine. I would just say you're doing fine. Wouldn't add more lights, and you probably are high light, even though the par meter might only say it's 105 or something like that. It's a different kind of light that most par meters aren't calibrated to really read. You know what I mean? So I would take it with a grain of salt what the par meter readings are going to be, unless they actually have an LED par meter. But it's very directional light, and it's very efficient light. So yeah, that's why I would say it's pretty high light. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Devin, Arsenal of Color, saying, "Hey, Joel, I just saw this short video with Gary Lang about the importance of fish clubs. Love to see a follow-up video on how to start your own, how to organize and manage a fish club, and what goals a club should be striving for. I live in Gainesville, Florida, a fairly large town that I think could support a club. Everyone I talk to seems to want and need for a club. I guess I'm looking for some guidance on how to get the ball rolling on something like that." Actually, Corey and I talked at length on the Real Fish Talk about this earlier in the week, but my very first recommendation would be to either get involved in a local Facebook page, right? So let's say it's Gainesville, Florida Fish, right? And it's not even a fish club yet, because if there isn't a fish club yet, that would be your reason for starting a fish club. And I would just assume that there isn't one, or there isn't one that's close enough for you to go to or whatnot. I would start a Facebook page, see how many people you can get involved, and from that group start to organize a possible club. Let's say where I'm at in Tacoma, there's 1.5 million people live around here, right? So let's say I could organize 1,000 out of the 1.5 million. Not bad, doing pretty good. That would be fine for a club. About 1,000 people would be pretty insane for a fish club, but I'm meaning that's a lot. So I would say what I would do is start a page, find some people that are interested in the area that are actually doing fish keeping and stuff like that, and then go from there. Now, managing a club is going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a ton of work. If you think managing a Facebook page is a lot of work, it's going to be a lot managing these people in person to make sure that everything runs efficiently, all that kind of stuff. But it's just like running a small nonprofit, basically, is what it's going to end up being. And you're going to probably meet once a week. And it's just like, I wish I could give you more pointers right now, but I would get the ball rolling with starting a Facebook page and then see how many people you can get involved. And then, who owns maybe somebody owns a warehouse. Maybe somebody works and does something with the church. So you're going to find a meeting space and all that kind of stuff. Luke Locken is coming in saying, "Joel, anyone else who knows plants can confirm if this is a Ponageton ulvaceus." I always have so many problems trying to say that one. This is the first time owning this plant, and it doesn't seem to be curling at all the way they are supposed to. All the leaves maybe one are new growths. Had it for about a week. It looks like ulvaceus, but I don't know. It still seems pretty new to me. As the leaves mature, they'll get crinkly and wavy and all that kind of stuff. It looks to be a Ponageton. My guess from your tank is that it looks to be a fairly low-lit tank with some good amount of tannins and stuff like that, which is probably filtering out some of the light. It looks to be in a Ponageton. Like, there's a little bulb down here. I can't really say. Honestly, to really identify a plant, I kind of need to have it in person to see exactly what it is, check its veins in the stem and all that kind of stuff, but or some serious macro photography to look at it. But I would say, based on this shot, it looks like the Ponageton ulvaceus, but of course, I'm saying it wrong. Ulvaceus, right? It looks like that plant. I might be wrong. Maybe somebody could chime in and be like, dude, you got the wrong plant, but it looks to be that way. I would allow these leaves to mature some more and get a real identification from that. The mature leaves are the easiest way to identify because they've taken time. They've had all that time of growing in and everything. Mike Howie chiming in. mhowie9, sometimes he's in the chat. I haven't seen him today, I don't think. Says, there are now fish in the barn. Still have a lot to do, but on the road to completion. Still need to move the saltwater fish, my Neptune Apex, and finish the filtration. Everything moved over so far is doing well. This is amazing. I'm so happy to see this. This fish room coming along and how well it's doing. Now, the question I have right here is, why isn't your ceiling finished if you're moving stuff in? I don't know. I'm confused. I don't know what the long-term plan is, so that's why I'm asking during the show. Maybe Mike can chime in and let us know. Maybe he's got some kind of plan for what's going on up here. I don't know. If it is some kind of plan, I'm interested. I'm saying that I'm interested to know what's going on. Did we lose our... Is chat working? I don't know. I don't know. Chat just got real quiet. Maybe it just was, everyone's just so entranced. I don't know. But Mike, having done this, being able to watch this project move along, I'm happy to say that I'm pretty stoked to see that how far along it is at this point. And man, just this started out as the hollow barn, but I am intrigued to find out what is going to happen with this ceiling. So we'll hear from Mike at some point in time, and be able to, because maybe he's got some kind of cool idea, which is why the ceiling's not fixed. What is this? Who's calling me? Oh, okay. Yeah, but either way, Mike, 2 thumbs up. That's awesome. And by the way, I got to hang out with Mike when we were out in at the Michigan American Live Bearers Association convention. Super awesome, and love that dude. And hopefully we get to hang out again soon. We've got Megan Ness chiming in with, my baby mystery snails are not so baby anymore. Oh, how they grow. I love that. I love to get an update like this. I don't know why you have this bladder snail here. I am not a fan of bladder snails, as most people know. Corey gives me a hard time about it on a regular basis, along with other people. And you know what? You can like them all you want. I don't like them myself, okay? So that's just how it is. And but I'm loving to see these mystery snails doing well and coming right along. Little snails. You guys know I'm a big fan of Malaysian trumpet snails. Those are my snails. Those are my snail buddies, who I'm super excited about. Charles Wheeler says, hey, Joel, on the last Real Fish Talk, you mentioned the cost-effectiveness of building your own RODI filter. I was wondering if maybe you could do a DIY how-to video for one. Yes, I can. I can do a DIY how-to video for that. I thought I had. To be brutally honest with you, I thought I had made that video, so I was going to just link you the video and be like, dude, there it is. But there's the problem. Here's the problem, is that I don't think I had made it. Or at least I just couldn't find it. So I will go ahead and make one. And thanks for either reminding me or asking me or whatever. And I will get on making one of those and show you guys how to do that. I think I made some live streams about it, which is why I was thinking I had made that video. But I couldn't find it in the list. Jared RB coming back in. Now we have the update on that hexagon tank, saying follow up to the previous post with some plants, still waiting on some more plants, and the ones I have will need to grow in. Also, need to tweak the driftwood. Have a lot of smaller pieces to work with. Lots of tweaking left to do. Loving to see that progress report. I love the progress reports, you guys. That stuff excites me a lot. Loving to see this nice... This is going upward, okay? And I'm liking that. I would think to center some more rocks. That if you got some good rocks with some upward movement, maybe you could find those. Basically, that's all I would improve. And then just let that grow in. You know what I mean? Let it grow in and let it start to mature. Vince Grippa sent me this post here. Sent in this post here of electrician's artwork, and you're not wrong, my guy. This is fantastic. This is exactly how every box should be wired forever. Looks great. I'm just... Dude, this looks great, man. I'm jealous. I want my box to look like that. My box looks 30% like that. But I'll get there. Does anybody just want to sit and stare at this box, this electrical box here for a little while? Because I do. I don't know what to tell you, but it's mesmerizing. I zoomed in on it to even look at some of the closest work. And, yeah, I'm very excited. And as Nick Fishram says, all those GFCI breakers, yes, down here, and in here, and up here, and up here. Those are code now. Those are code now, you guys, on new construction. Just remember that. If you are upgrading your panel, remember, you're going to have to go GFCI on some stuff. But not a big deal. It's just a little extra wiring and a little precaution and a little more cost. But we got to move on with the show. We can't just sit around here and stare at electrical panels all day. Vince Grippa would get mad if we just stared at the electrical panels all day, because that's what he's been doing all day. So let's move on to check out a fish post from a man, Steve Horton here. Boy, howdy. I've been taking a lot of pictures of angels lately, angelfish, and I'm thinking I want some in my life, but I know that it's a trick. I know that it's a trick because, like, I know that angelfish are super pretty, but they're jerks in my aquariums. They just are mean, and they want to eat everything, and they want to bite everyone's face off, and they want to do it at night, and all that kind of stuff. And then I get super frustrated because I'm like, stop eating everybody and biting everyone's face off. But they are beautiful, and I'm loving these. It says, the Valsneria jungle has begun. I got 2 more offshoots for my first Val from the Aquarium Co-op for a total of 4, and I'm over here talking about the fish. But yes, the Val is growing in, and by the way, be consistent with the Val. It will grow in, period. The Valsneria just grows. That's just one of the things that it does. It is a marvelous beginner plant that will definitely give you some results, for sure. As John Bedker says, quality electrical is orgasmic, and I agree with you, my friend. I fall right into that category of just like, hey, man. But I'm weird like that. I said I'm weird like that, but that's okay. JK's here. My first generation of baby endlers is finally getting colors. Oh, that's good. Dan Squire says, don't the coiled up wires create inductions issues? No, this is a GFCI. I could explain it, but I'll probably say something wrong, and then people would be like, man, you're an idiot. V-Stag is here. What's up, my man? I haven't seen you in a long time. Says, hit the like button. Yeah, that's right, guys. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to share a video out if there's something that has, like, some really good content that you're really into. Don't forget to share it out. It really is kind of a big deal these days with the way that YouTube works and all that kind of stuff. If you guys don't share it out, it probably won't get shared by YouTube. You know what I mean? JK says, any suggestions on how to make the best colors come out better? Selective breeding, number one is good food. So get a high quality, good food. Part 2, good water conditions. As far as guppies go, you want clean water with some hardness to it, typically, but keep the pH down at the same time, which is weird. But and the third thing, selective breeding. So those are going to be the 3 things to just focus on, and it will take some time. But you keep into those 3 things with the quality food, quality water, and selective breeding, you will get there. It pretty much goes for everything. Insightful Fish Keeping says, angelfish are amazingly beautiful jerks. I've always loved and raised them. Yeah, I love them angelfish too, but they are, man, they can be brutal jerks. That is for sure. And I always kind of get lured in. I get lured in by them, you know. I'd love to make a parallel. I'd love to make a parallel, but that's just not a great idea. But those of you that are wondering what all those Patreon questions were about and what that deal was, if you can join up on Patreon, it costs as little as $1 a month to help sponsor making this show, making other shows, making the edited videos, all that kind of stuff, traveling around. And muchas gracias to everybody out there who has been chipping in, because it kind of freaks me out on a regular basis that I'm like, how is this even possible that we're at this point? It's nuts. It's nuts. And definitely, it's crazy to think I'm working, well, how much we're moving in the right direction. I don't even know how to do it. Got a baby on the way. Super excited. Just life's going good. It has hardships. Things are hard. There's a lot of hard stuff I got to do on a regular basis every single day, but we're going in the right direction. That's all I care. Greg Jones says, happy Friday, my friend. I'm editing a video on GFCIs right now. I visited a GFCI manufacturer today in RI, Rhode Island, to get the master class. Oh, cool. Well, he's editing a video about GFCIs. Ground fault connection interrupter. If anybody's wondering what that is. JK says, okay, can't really selectively breed them. Only have 2 adults and 3 batches of babies. Now there are 40 more fish in my aquarium. Well, you can selectively breed them. You have to separate them into other tanks and breed them moving forward. You have the batches of the babies. Now it's time, as they start to grow up, pick the ones that you want the coloration to come from, move those into other tanks, and have those breed. And don't worry about inbreeding. That's not the same thing with fish and people, so don't worry about that stuff. I think it was 70 generations or something crazy before they start to see anything weird going on, so don't worry about that. Kiwi Mamo says, good morning, fishy folks. Oh, good morning. Yeah. Jeffros Fishkeeping says, I didn't make it, John. Long story. Had to reschedule. Oh, what was it? I don't know. Now I'm confused. John Bedker. Oh, says hi. And then he said, Jeff, you in Colorado? Oh, was Jeff headed to Colorado? Jeff Rose is headed to Colorado or something. All right. The zombie drums has got to run. All right. Well, you get out of here. Okay. Steve Horton says, the Jerry Maguire moment. What? When did I have a Jerry Maguire moment? When was that? Some point in time. I don't know. I think that was a long time ago. Devin Pepper says, what was the fastest growing low-tech plants that are pleco-proof, or what are some of the best, most rewarding plants that thrive in hard water and in low-tech tanks? I think the best thing that you could be able to do in a low-tech tank would be to at least get some solid substrate that you'll be able to do consistent water changes with, that's going to have a good cation exchange capacity. There are a lot out there. The fluorite red would be my favorite for a super low tech tank, and just add it in there. I would just add in, I mean, you could even go half and half, like some cheap fine gravel from the from like the landscape store or something like that. You could be able to supplement it with that, up the ante a little bit. But I'm really wondering what you mean by low tech specifically. So that's kind of the issue that I have right now with that. But if I was going low tech, that's the substrate I would do. And then fastest growing low tech plants. So to be brutally honest with you, I don't really have an answer for that. Because you know, one of the upsides to a low tech tank is that plants don't grow fast, so you don't have to do a lot of trimming or a lot of maintenance or any of that kind of stuff. You know, you think of it this way: there's a lot less food, and there's a lot less way for the plants to process that food because there's less light and all that kind of stuff. So plants are inherently gonna not grow very fast. I don't remember when I had the Jerry Maguire moment. I think it was like 4 months ago or something like that. It was a while ago. But you know, as far as like low-tech plants go, I mean, like you could just get some cheap mosses, Anubias, which isn't going to grow fast. Anything solid leafed like that is not going to grow very fast, though. So, I mean, the real thing about a low-tech tank would be that it doesn't grow fast. You don't have to do maintenance on it very much. So, Amazon Sword is doing great in high pH and hard water. Yep, Amazon Swords do fantastic in high pH hard water, that's for sure. The Styrogyne Repens, that does well in high pH harder water. Or actually, not high pH, but lower pH, but hard water. So like guppy water, pretty much. Show me the money or you had me at hello. Let's see. JK is wondering, why do my red Reely shrimp get light green spot on their back? It's like a lichen green. Could be fungus, could be algae, could be food. I don't know. I'd have to like see a picture or see what's going on with the tank to really answer that. It's not something I normally see out of Reely shrimp, but I'd have to like see a good picture or something like that and try and figure that out. MB Golf Gold F, MB Gold F. I don't know. Any comments on hang on back for planted tanks? I'm afraid to have low water flow and detritus accumulation. I love hang on back filters. People think I don't like hang on back filters because I use sumps on all my tanks. But AquaClear. Now hold on a second here. Just because I got to do the self-preservation thing or whatever. I don't know. The self-preservation thing. Here's the lineup. These right here. Copy. Paste. Okay. So, yes, they vary in price. That link right there is to all the different sizes. So they start out $25, $27, $32, $49, $68. They're different priced for the different sizes. But those AquaClear filters are by far and away my favorite hang-on back filters of all time. And that's like, it's not even like if the AquaClear is an A, there is no B. You have to like go all the way down to D is where the next hang-on back comes in. So there's like not even a close competition compared to the AquaClear, personally, in my opinion. So if you want a hang-on back filter, that's the one I would go for. I like hang-on back filters. They work fantastically in Planet Aquariums. I think personally, I go hang-on back before I would go sponge filter. That's just me. And that's just the way I want to do it. But it's the way I did it in the past. Did it work out good? Has its upsides, has its downsides, that's for sure. Upsides being independent filtration, a much better flow. You can change things out. You can add media. You can add sponge. You could do whatever it is that you want to do with them, whereas a sponge filter driven on air is just going to be doing that all day long. And it's not really going to be doing anything else. You can't change anything. And, you know, the hang-on back filter was a much better deal for me, even when I did have a fish room with a lot of tanks, even though it does use power and stuff like that. It's just a much better option. But that's personal. And that's my personal opinion, and that's the results that I saw from doing all my planted tanks with those. I'd use the aqua clears on the tiny little nano tanks all the way up to 200 gallon, 300 gallon tanks at some point in time. I had a bunch of 110s on I forget what size, a 220 or a 210, or I don't know. I've put them up on big tanks too, and small tanks. Soggy Pits is asking about aquatic didmium, right? Am I saying that right? Didymium. I don't have any answers for that, honestly. I would have to do some research into that. Nothing in the front of my mind on that one. And I wouldn't even say I'm an expert at all. I'm saying I have to like go and look into it. Let's see. I'll try to. Let me see if we can't do a quick Google search here. Let's see what we got here. Is that fungus? I think it's a fungus. Right? I believe it is. Well, on the quick Google search over here, it's looking like a little bit of a fungus. And to be honest with you, like one of these pictures, I've seen this once in one of my tanks, something like one of these pictures. I don't even know if it's the right thing. Okay? To be honest with you. And what I did, I vacked it out with a tube and I never saw it again. So, I don't know. Huge Mac was looking for info if it was that common. I don't think it's that common. Let's see. I was keeping 3 angels in a 75 and had the female pair with both males. That's not that common, but you know, with angels, it's kind of... Angels are kind of personality driven, you know what I mean? They're kind of personality driven. Kind of personality driven fish, so I don't know, maybe one of the males got over on the other male and took the lead. So Soggy Pit says it moves around my tank. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit I have to say I'm kind of stumped on that one. So if there was a bell around here, I would hit it. Kind of stumped on that one. I wish I could help more on that, but maybe we just got a spelling error or something like that. Maybe get a picture and send it in, Joel at Darkstar Arts, and we'll check it out. Now, and my weekend life has just showed up. If you guys know who she is, that's Vicky Toria. That is my lovely spouse, who I love very much. She's got our baby inside her body. It's the weirdest way to say it, right? Is that the weirdest way to say it? She's got our baby inside her body. Whoa. AKA pregnant. Looks like she's headed home from work, which means we're coming up on the 5 o'clock hour, which means it's time to get out of here. So if you got any questions, if you got anything else coming on, let's get it out of the way. I will have another video coming out for you guys tomorrow, which will be a fish store tour. If you guys don't like those videos, don't watch it. If you do like those videos, then watch it and let me know and let other people know. I don't know. We got a pretty good response from the Bentley's Fish Room tour that you guys really like those things. So let's keep it up. Turn on the notifications or whatever, and whatever the stupid YouTube stuff we're supposed to say. Squeeze the like button or whatever, and all that zazzy zazz or whatever the F we're supposed to do. There's some of the funniest comments about, like, one person didn't like the music, so they turned it. So they turned the video off and then commented about how they didn't like it. Oh, it's a hard life sometimes, you guys. There's no filter. There's no filter on getting in the door. There's no lock. But we only have one super chat on this Friday from Ryan Avery. Thank you very much, Ryan. I hope you're still here. Hopefully I answered your question. I feel like I kind of rambled on about reef stuff for a little bit. Hopefully I answered your question. Special thanks to all the patronizers for contributing, throwing in the community stuff, and also throwing down like $1 or $2 or $5 or $10, or you're a huge supporter like the Fishy Mailman, who's our producer. He's got producer badge. I got to make a producer badge so he can have it. Him and only 2 other people are going to get the producer badge. But everybody who's chipping in on there, we're doing awesome. We're so moving in the right direction, and I'm always encouraged. If I'm ever feeling discouraged, I can always just go on the Patreon and go, man, there's 319 people on there that are saying just keep doing it, and it's pretty amazing and exciting and amazing and exciting. Oh no, I'm stuck on a loop. Okay, Mr. Chips, are you ready? Okay, I got Mr. Chippers over here. He's staring me down, and we got to get rocking and rolling. Dan Squires is asking, My Week in Life, do you have a link for the baby stuffs? Vicky has made a... I want to say, I don't know where the registry is, but I'll be able to post it up. I'll be able to post it up for you guys next week, because I just don't know where it is on this thing over here to be able to share it. But I guess maybe it shows up over here. No, I'll have to do some work on it. But if anybody's feeling super crazy and wants to go to the fan production list, you could go to the fan production list here, and you could probably find the baby registry if you're more coordinated than I am. But that's the fan funded stuff. If anybody wants to chip in on production things, those are the stuff that's lined up that we're still trying to get, equipment wise. Although it's the thing at the top of the list that's the main important, and the IPS monitor, which it went up. It went up in price. Get out of here. It's just weak. All right, I'm going to have a Jerry Maguire moment where I yell at Amazon. All right, guys. Love you all. Have a fantastic weekend. If you're thinking about lighting off some fireworks, just don't. Your time is over, and you have to wait till next year. All right. Later.